let's have an overview of what we're going to talk about today. I hope all of you are aware of the topic for tonight. Last session, we had love languages. Tonight, what we are going to talk about is on managing relational expectations. So we're going to take a look at the various types of relational expectations, what shapes our expectations, as well as how can we manage our relational expectations. Okay, so as usually I would like to find out more about the audience so that along the way I can try to see if I can fit some of my sharing into who is in the room tonight. And of course, hopefully that can also get us into the mood for today's session. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to draw up a very quick poll. I'm going to pull up a poll dialog box that will be appearing on your screen very shortly. And I would like you to share a little bit with me. This is anonymous, so nobody can know what are your choices. I'd like you to be able to share with me and the rest of the audience tonight, what are some of your wishes that your partner can do? Okay, some of the desires, some of the wishes that your partner can do. So I'm going to pull that out from our screen, and Ting Ting, give me some feedback. Is the poll in action?
Yes, we're good.
Good. Okay, so multiple choice. Give me some sensing of what do you wish your partner can choose. There's no can do. There's no right or wrong to it. So pick as many as you like.
2,000 years later.
Okay, very interesting poll results. I'd like to be able to share this with all of you to see in the room, what are some of the expectations that sits between all of you. Take a look at that. So we are talking about a romantic relationship. Actually, a lot of you would love for your partner to be your lover. And I could see that being able to be comforting you when you are down is also a very desired quality that you're looking for in your partners. So quite a number of you. I don't really know what this means for all of you because I actually included an others option that I could see that some respondents have actually chosen that. So that probably gives us a sensing of when we come to a romantic relationship, if I could just pull out my slides again. When it comes to a romantic relationship, actually very often we carry with ourselves certain expectations and certain desires in our partner that we hope that they can achieve in the relationship together with us. And there are like, I think close to 20 of you in the room, and look at the number of wishes out there. So I believe there are more that are not listed. In a relationship, how are we going to manage all these expectations? Hopefully by the end of the session, you kind of have a better sensing of that. Just now, I'm not too sure how many of you heard that song in the background. My apologies that it was a bit choppy because of the technical issue. As I flash this slide, I do not know how many of you could recognize this song. Let me tell you a little tidbit. When I shared this slide with Ting Ting, she totally knew what this song was. But honestly, that wasn't the surprising bit. I'm sorry, Ting Ting. That wasn't the surprising bit. The scary bit or the surprising bit or just shocking bit for me was how she told me this song is actually in the playlist of someone more than 10 years my junior. That shows how powerful love songs are. And when I was much younger, this song sounds so romantic. I mean, this was one of the top favorite song that I had until I start working with couples. And I realized what's the issue with such songs. Look at the lyrics. Good for this person who prayed and found someone. I mean, it looks like this person really found someone that he or she has been looking for a very long time. And who exactly is this person that the singer has found? If you're familiar with this song, part of the lyrics goes like this. Okay. So this person, this singer found someone whom he could connect with, and he could see that this person was really almost akin to the way that he sees his mother, his father, his sister, his brother, his everything. Okay, so I think when I say what love song does for us is, okay, I was being a bit naughty over here. I was like thinking, wow, it sounds great if you can be like my mother who takes care of the household chores, kind of like my father who kind of bring home the bacon. the sister who comforts and listens to me when I'm down, and the brother who defends me when I'm facing difficulty, and perhaps to repair that TV which has blown. Of course, like I said, I was being very naughty, and that's very bad of me. Those are very typical stereotypes that we have of different roles. But it is actually, to be honest, in my many years of working with couple, I have heard many times that people were telling me, how come I don't understand why my partner cannot just be like who and who? Very often, people are looking for that one person to meet all their needs. I would have to say that that would be very convenient, of course. And at the same time, what working with couples for so many years and my personal experience has also told me that that can also be very pressurizing. All right. So give me a thought. What are some of your favorite love songs and how do they influence the way you look at love and relationship? So where do expectations actually sit in our day-to-day life? And this is a totally non-exhaustive list. He should know I hate people who are late. She must stop doing that before we end up in a divorce. His mother should stop interfering into our matters. She ought to stop listening to the ridiculous advice from her friends. In your relationship with your partner, how often do should, ought to, and must sits in your conversation and your inner dialogue that you have with yourself? Very often, when you realize that you're using such words, those are probably the first clue to tell you that these are your expectations about things. Early on, I said one of the things that we like to look at is what are relational expectations. I don't really know what are all of your thoughts when I flash these slides. A lot of you are probably still looking at the slide because there's so many things on it. Financial management, commitment and fidelity, communication, da 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 da. These are the loads of relational expectations that we very often see in couples. And guess what? If you notice, I actually ran out of space to put up relational expectations. So there are indeed many expectations that governs a relationship, and between all of these headers are many, many subsets. That's why it does take a lifetime to know one another because there's just so much for us to discover. But I hope by showing you the range of relational expectations that we are dealing with in a relationship also allows us to reflect and know that it is actually quite unrealistic or in fact impossible to expect two people who come together in a relationship to meet all of each other's expectation at all time. In fact, I do not know whether have has any in the any of you in the room has heard of Dr. Dan. And Dr. Dan really once comment he is a very renowned American couple therapist. He once commented that when we are choosing a long-term partner, we are essentially choosing to live with a set of unresolved problems. And he calls that perpetual problems. And guess what? There's a research that built on Dr. Dan's work and found that actually as many as two-thirds of couples issue tends to be perpetual issues. So the key to be able to enjoy our relationship is not to be attempting to resolve every single issue that comes up between us, but not allow ourselves to get caught up with them, not every single one of them. Because, if the research is anything to go by, two-thirds of the things that we are having conflict in are actually unresolvable issues. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all the relational expectations. Probably just a little bit of illustrations to bring the point uh, bring the point through a little bit more. Maybe let's say financial management. What does relational expectation looks like in financial management? Potentially, you are looking at what are the what are the spending patterns in a partner. Do we have a spendthrift, and do we have someone who's extremely frugal? What about retirement plans? Does a couple have retirement plans? Are these things that we talk about as a couple? If we talk about family and friends, do we have to be hanging out with his family and friends all the time? Or is it okay to miss out on some engagement? We talk about parenting expectations. And guess what? Parenting expectations does happen even before you have a child, because one of the very common question or things that I do have conversations with couple very often about is in a relationship. We don't quite talk about this during dating phase much, but one of the very important question when it comes to parenting is, do we even want to have children? And if we do not want to have the children, does it matter if our child is a boy or girl? So you see that there are actually, when we are together with someone, we do have a lot of all these relational expectations that shapes the way that we interact with one another. And so what exactly shapes our expectations? Once again, there are many different things that shapes our expectations, our relational expectations. This is kind of a glimpse of the more common things. I won't go through every single one of them as well because we do have quite a bit to go through today. But maybe I'll take this opportunity to highlight, in my experience, maybe two of the very major influence on our relational expectations, but very often um, gets pushed back into the background that we don't really think about them very actively. The first sphere you see there, I wrote family of origin. For people who are not familiar with this phrase, family of origin refers to the family that we grew up in. And the family that we grew up in actually has a major influence on how we see relationship. Um, to set an example, sometimes we either want to have the type of partner that our parents are, or in certain situations, actually we actively resist being that. So there are certain qualities that we either like or do not like about our parents, and those could influence what we look out for in our own partner. Another very common influence, actually I touched about that a little bit in the beginning of our session. Remember the love song illustration, which is our mass media. Actually, our mass media is one major culprit, which influence our perception of the partner we pursue. You know, they have limited episodes, so they often portray, they short circuit relationship into a very condensed series of episodes, or even a 2 hours film. So mass media has a major influence. If you find yourself, I do not know about you, but I have to say I'm definitely guilty of that. When we are watching shows where there are relationships involved, do you find yourself rooting for a certain guy or girl to be matched together with someone they fancy? You know, we always cheer them on. And sometimes we actually even go to the extent of feeling unjust when the script writer decide to match the wrong pair. Okay, so actually, there's nothing wrong with having a role model. We all kind of need role models in our life. Same goes for relationship. So it's completely normal. It's completely fine to have role model, whether it is a positive role model or maybe not quite so. But what is important is to know that our partner is not our father, our mother, our Sally's boyfriend, or even the oppa from the K drama. Our partner is a person of his or her own uniqueness, and your relationship is also unique from your friends or your family. Yeah. So hopefully with this, it gives you a sensing of, hey, how come I think about this? Why is this thing one of my relational expectation? Where did it come from? Might be worth thinking about. Okay. For some of you, this slide might be familiar. For people who are new, we kind of talked about love time the previous session. So today is a little bit on songs. I do not know whether have you heard of the other songs. Sometimes love just ain't enough. Indeed, while love itself does not quite attend to all challenges in a relationship, it definitely creates the condition for challenges to be attended to. Last session, I kind of connoted love tank, a way to think about love tank is just like our fuel tank. As we navigate the reality post-honeymoon phase, we do need to constantly be assured that we are not running low on our love tank. Just like the car that we drive, it is always good to be on the road with a three-quarter tank than an almost empty tank that we do not know when the car will stop. So do see that while love doesn't resolve all problems, but not having a decent enough love tank level can make handling all these challenges a little bit more difficult for some another couple whose love tank is relatively running healthy. So give it some thought as well, okay? Show you a little animation. I was so proud of it that I I was showing off to Ting Ting. So look at this animation over here. Two different handphone casing coming together to say you complete me. Romantic, isn't it? We have seen a lot of all this merchandise that build on finding the other half. Before we get to talk about managing relational expectations, perhaps it may be helpful for us to look at what are our views when we talk about looking for a partner, and how do we look at differences in relationship. You complete me is definitely one way that we can look at when it comes to partner selection. What is comforting about it is it brings a sense of assurance because we know what we are looking for. You know, just like the avocado, if you know that you are looking for the other half of the avocado, it does shape your idea of who you want, what are hits and misses for you. So we are what we need to be mindful of is at the same time while we are so sure we know what we are looking for, um, we are essentially also saying that anything that's not what we expect might be challenging. After all, if I go back to avocado as an example, if you're looking for the other half of an avocado, you're not going to be very accepting of anything else that's not quite looking like half an avocado for you. So that's one way of looking at relationships and looking at differences. Maybe I would like to introduce you to another way of considering relationship. Perhaps instead of a completing me perspective, one can consider taking a position that our partner is not to meet every bit of our life, but not here to complete us, but perhaps here to complement it, to add new dimensions. And of course, that is a little bit more adventurous, and that can be a hit or misses or miss situation depending on what we find. How does that look like? Avocado toast. Super popular in recent years. Some people do really enjoy the avocado toast. So see, this half of avocado decide that instead of the other half, I'm actually having a relationship with a slice of bread. Okay. So this differing in partner selection and perspective of relationship has a major influence on managing expectations. Someone who leans towards finding the half of the avocado might find it really hard to deal with differences. And if not careful, sometimes there might be a tendency to make the other person try to fit into the avocado image. You know, try to shape the person, try to change things about this person because you were very clear what you want. So that is one way. People who are keen to find complementing partners who might actually have more willingness to consider differences, because quite clearly if you look at this picture, there's there's very little similarity in terms of how the avocado and the toast looks like. So potentially people who are keen to look at complementing partner might be more willing to look at differences in general. But the flip side is, of course, as well, that you might need to take a little bit more time to figure out how to blend these differences, because these differences are not differences that you are already familiar with. So you might have to actually spend more time figuring out how to blend these differences in a pleasant manner. And if these differences, this way of being in a relationship with someone, is this also what you want in the long run? So before we go into the next segment of talking about managing relational expectations, we'd like to invite all of you to give it a little bit thought for yourself. Are you someone who leans towards looking for the other half of an avocado? Or are you someone who tends to be more open to looking for a partner who can be avocado toast with you? As with many things, there's no right or wrong, but really being aware of how do you look at relationships and how do you look at differences in the relationship. Okay, I'll leave whether you want to be avocado or avocado toast to you.